Coming up on Theater Talk.
My agent called and said, listen, they're doing The Price. We don't think you should do it. It's a revival. You know, you're not the lead.
All the crap you get from the
agent.
agents.
It's an ensemble. I was like,
give it to me.
Sign me up.
Theater Talk is made possible in part by the Kinney TV Foundation.
The price of used furniture is nothing more than the viewpoint. And if you wouldn't understand the viewpoint, it's impossible to understand the price.
So what's the viewpoint? It's all worth nothing.
That's what you said. I didn't say that.
From New York City, this is Theater Talk. I'm Susan Haskins.
And I'm Michael Riedel of the New York Post. Now, Susan, there's a terrific new production of Arthur Miller's play, The Price, at the American Airlines Theater. You know, we often hear about Death of a Salesman or The Crucible, but I urge you to go see The Price, a play that's not done very often. Very, very, very good play. Directed by my old friend and sparring partner, Terry Kinney. We'll get to that in a moment, Terry. Welcome back to Theater Talk.
Still.
He won't let it go. Starring Mark Ruffalo, fine actor. Welcome to Theater Talk. Thanks. And making his Broadway debut at 72, as he told me recently, after all these years knocking around this business, Danny DeVito.
Nice to be here.
Welcome back. All right, before we get into The Price, Mark was curious about this. What did we fight over? We had a fight over something, and you came on the show.
God, you don't even remember.
I don't remember the fight.
Terry will never forget.
Clearly you said some horrible thing.
No, I did. I don't.
No, I've been vindicated since. We were taking out the intermission and all the monologues in the play Reasons to be Pretty. And the producers decided to shut down for 3 days. And I said, why? I'll just take them out. But they did that. In the Post was a story about trouble over it. And so I was so angry. The actors were demoralized by the piece. So I called him up. I walked outside into the street and called him up and just rained expletives.
On my answering machine. So I go to the office.
On the answering.
It was on the answering machine. I now remember. I was like, "This is Terry Kinney." You not want the unbearable. Whoa, the phone. And I thought, hey, this is good. Actually, I'll just transcribe this and run it as my column. So I ran his. I ran his.
You did with a lot of like
with all
thingies.
The New York Post only did more reporting like you.
It was accurate. It was accurate.
As a gift, my cast read it in unison from the stage to me one day.
Terry, what attracted you to this play? What does this play mean for you?
I love this play in like from 8th grade.
Really?
I used to talk about this play all the time while we were reading in class Death of a Salesman and The Crucible. I would say, oh, you have to read The Price. It's so great. It's much more personal. And people would, not really respond to that. So I've carried it around for about 10 years in New York, like a carpet sample Willie Loman would have in his trunk,
Trying to get somebody to do The Price for you.
Yeah, and people thought of it as second-rate Miller.
Yeah.
And I just, I didn't. So Todd felt the same way about it.
And we should say, Mark, you play a policeman nearing retirement.
Yes, he's on the precipice of the rest of his life.
Right, and he's come to his father's, the brownstone, with the attic. Father's died.
That's right.
And he wants to sell all the furniture,
they're
stuff.
tearing the building down.
Tearing the building.
And so it has to go.
Yeah.
And his wife would like a little piece of the pie for their retirement.
Because she doesn't want that furniture.
She wants the money.
She wants the money.
But what's so interesting, I think, about the play, though, is the setup is you have a brother, and you have a difficult relationship with the brother. And there's a lot of talk about the brother. And we expect the brother is going to come on. And instead, Danny DeVito comes on as this fascinating character.
Solomon,
who is an antiques appraiser, dealer.
Been in the business for 65 years and knows furniture in and out. He was 86 when he kind of packed it in. He's like almost 90.
90 now, yeah.
He's been sitting around for a couple years waiting for whatever to happen, but it hasn't. He's still 100% really strong. And the phone rings and it changes his life. Again, the thing about Solomon is he really believes that there are a lot of bounces in life. You know, you get knocked down and you can't let that stop you. The idea is that right at this moment, what I discover with these guys is that Solomon is that ball is just hitting he's bouncing up now. So if you're on the downswing, maybe for those couple of years, he's just hit the pavement or the floorboards and he's bouncing back. That's where you guys pick up the play. You find out.
Because Mark is sort of, would you call yourself a tragic hero?
I'd like to.
Yes.
Well, your character's been a little bit on the downswing, and
Yeah,
when
and
this play starts,
Yeah, and there's a lot of interesting relationship between where he is. My character doesn't know that men can bounce, and he doesn't know that he can bounce. And his model, his father, didn't bounce. He broke.
And his brother is.
His brother's just his brother took off. He went to live his life and left the broken pieces for Victor to pick up.
I didn't relate to his brother. Fabulous performance by Tony Shalhoub, but there's
Tony's amazing.
nothing in that character that I'm going, I mean, I understood what he was saying, but your character, I was.
Well, everybody in the play has to pay a price. That's big deal. This is like Arthur saying, I guess, you know, look around you because you're gonna, whatever you put forth, there's always a cause and effect.
Yeah.
And you have to pay the price. You
Yeah.
wind up paying.
Yes.
Whatever it is, we don't know.
Right.
So like the idea is, do you settle for things in life? Or do you go, I'm going to shake this off and come back? Or you just become a defeatist and just go down and let the thing take you down into the abyss? And Solomon, basically, well, his name, Solomon, he's pretty wise, been around, 90 years old, seen it all, struggling countries all over the world, fought, almost was killed, totally smashed, but come back, always with that spirit of, and that's
But he's
what,
also very perceptive about people.
absolutely,
Yes.
because this is like a young man who he's 50 years old.
Yeah.
He's
Yeah.
not, it's
Down and
like
out.
50 is like, he's a baby
kid.
boy.
because you're 90.
I'm 90.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But he's in trouble, and you see it.
Yeah, absolutely. But I'm also a furniture dealer who wants to make money.
Yeah, right.
I mean, it's ingrained in me, you know.
And I love it. It's like Arthur must have seen vaudeville because the character is a vaudevillian. Tony's character is a
Absolutely.
vaudevillian.
I mean, he was really delighted when he created the character of Solomon because it was taking him back to his youth and watching the Yiddish theater here, Second Avenue, and he created a character that he's never put in any other play.
Right.
You know, the kind of comedy he creates is nearly vaudevillian.
Is eating the egg in the script?
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
Well, we should say there's an absolutely
Showstopper.
You got to see this play. It is a showstopper. Danny comes out as Solomon, takes an egg out of his briefcase, and starts eating it, and then spits
The whole egg.
I feel sorry for you because
I'm being
every night you're being sprayed.
showered with Danny.
Well, we have a as we've
Solomon.
gone along now with the previews and the opening and everything, and the audience is always informed you so much about what's going on stage, and we have agreed that there is a kind of a yoke limit that so as soon as it gets to the point where, because you could do that all day.
Yeah.
I mean,
No, he has.
and I have.
We have had nights where you talk about a showstopper. We literally had to lift the curtain and
have
drop
to-
the curtain just for
You
this.
have to make a
bit.
deal with the first 3 rows of the audience that you're going to do the dry cleaning because there's going to be pieces of egg.
Every night, though, egg in your
Every consonant. There's a lot of consonants in those sentences.
But I
They're
love that.
covering
I love that because we think of Arthur as and I knew him slightly, the very serious American playwright, and there's wonderful playful side to him in.
Well, the whole play is infused with humor in a way that, I mean, Arthur Miller, he gets humor and he knows how to dish it, he does. He uses Solomon as George Bernard Shaw would say, you got to get them laughing long enough to get their mouths open to shove the medicine down their throat.
Yeah.
I always see that first act bit is Miller softening up his prey for the kill, because what's coming after that?
The psychological drama between the brothers.
Oh
is
yeah,
pretty
they're
tough.
like, we're seeing a Miller comedy. This is amazing. We don't have to. He's not asking us to question capitalism. He's not asking us to question ourselves and our priorities as Americans. We're just having a kick here. And then boom.
I always tell my friends who come to the show at intermission, they go, "Oh, it's so buoyant tonight." I said, "Just wait."
Just,
Deep spiral.
get over to the
black
bar a
hole
little
begins
bit
now.
and then come back and talk to me. Yeah.
Although it's extremely well structured, because you know, you do get into the heavy stuff, but just when it gets almost too painful, Solomon comes bounding back.
Interruptions are a big part of the show. Just before he's going to seal the deal, the brother comes in.
Yeah.
And, you know, it starts there and it keeps going. So those interruptions are his way of saying, you know, there's a certain destiny of the way it's unspooling here.
Yeah. Want to talk to you guys about your beginnings here in the theater. Now, Mark, you're from, where are you from?
Kenosha, Wisconsin.
Kenosha,
The
Wisconsin.
great theater town.
Yeah, I was all the old shows tried out there before Broadway,
that's
right?
where
When
they
you
all
were growing
started,
up.
yeah.
What was it that sort of hooked you as a kid on theater, or maybe it was the movies? I don't know.
It was honestly the Three Stooges and Charlie Chaplin.
Got in common with Daddy. He told me when I talked to him. The
Oh,
other day
really?
about
I
the
didn't
Three
know that.
Stooges.
Yeah, so we would do all the Three Stooges bits, and
the two Stooges, we got 2/3 of it covered here.
With Jessica Heck, right?
Stooges, we'll add this one over here. Okay, let's get a screwdriver and.
So you guys would reenact. You would.
So
reenact
that
the Three
became
Stooges?
that started it. Yeah, me and my brother and my sisters would reenact. You know, slowly I turned, step by step, inch by. You know.
Oh yeah, Niagara Falls.
We did Niagara Falls.
Oh yeah, that's
yeah.
a good one.
Yeah, so it started with that, and I remember I was little. I was probably like 8 years old. My grandmother, I was a night owl, she called me, and she'd stay up at night and she'd smoke cigarettes and watch old movies on American movie classics or one of those, you know. And I remember one night she said, there's a movie on tonight. Why don't you come down after the other kids go to sleep? And I said, okay. So I snuck down. She's like, it's a world premiere of a famous movie. And I came down, and I'm watching this thing, and this guy's electrifying. Well, you're fancy first, Stella.
Oh.
and I'm watching him going, what is he doing? I didn't really, acting was like a very abstract concept to me. But I was like, what is he doing? I want to do that. That's what I said to her. And years later, I didn't even know who it was. Years later, I was in acting class, and everyone's talking Marlon Brando this, Marlon Brando that. And they're like, you don't know who Marlon Brando is? I'm in my 20s now. I'm 18. And I was like, no. My friend's like, I'm going to show you. You don't know On the Waterfront? You don't know Streetcar Named Desire? You don't know this? I was like, no, I've never seen it. He pops in Streetcar Named Desire. And I remember sitting there watching it with my grandmother, and I never knew who he was. But as soon as it came on, I was like,
You were back in
Got
that
it.
room with your grandmother.
this is it. This is why I even am here, and I didn't even know who the hell
Well,
this guy was.
I get by with the kindness of strangers. Solomon, you're gonna take care of him tonight.
Terry, what was it for you growing up?
Oh, well, I delivered posters for the local movie theater, so I got in free, and I would have to climb a ladder. It was like, what is it? What's the movie Il Postino or whatever?
Oh,
it's
yeah.
called.
Oh, yeah.
I would sit up in the booth. And,
Now, where was this?
in Lincoln, Illinois. And
Terry,
I watched all the adult movies, Who's Afraid of Virginia Woolf and, Toys in the Attic. I remember that really messed me up. But I could tell what was good acting, et cetera. And then I didn't really follow through, a little bit of speech team, and then I just tried out in college because somebody dared me to for a tuition waiver. And I made up a monologue, and I claimed it was from The Zoo Story by Albee. So I started with the story of Jerry and the dog, and that's all I knew. And then I just made up something, and when I ran out of steam, I kicked a chair, and I left. And they said, "Young man, come back in here. You have you have access to emotion that we have, you know. I was like,
Oh, I know. I still have the voicemail. I know about your access to the emotion. Kicking the chair, that's it. The temper was there from the beginning.
my gosh.
And then you began Steppenwolf. Did you not?
Well, yes. During college,
Yeah.
I met Jeffrey Perry and therefore Gary Sinise after my sophomore year, and we did a play in Highland Park, Illinois, in a church. And, you know, we just vowed to come back after we graduated, and that's how we started.
Danny, I was fascinated when we were talking in your dressing room the other day. You really were into experimental theater when you started in the 60s and 70s here. I mean, you were hanging out with Meredith Monk, and you're down at La Mama. That was the stuff that you really liked.
Yeah, I really dug all that stuff. Andre Serban stuff with the, you know, you go to a theater and go to, like, La Mama, you go to La Mama and they'd be setting things on fire, and it was like amazing. And everybody's playing a drum, and you're running around with war paint, and it's like just working with all kinds of. I love that stuff. You know, I really dug it. And then I was actually at the Theater of the Living Arts for one musical, a Rosalind Drexler play called The Line of Least Existence, and Judd, this is the first time I worked with Judd. He was playing a part. I was playing a dog. I was playing a dog who was having an affair with his wife. I had great musical numbers. Rosalind's terrific. And I had a collar, and I was, you know, an upright dog. Anyway, but one night, yeah, and the mothers, two guys from the Mothers of Invention were playing the music in the.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, really great. Billy Monday and Preston. So the idea is, one night they said that a woman was coming in. We all stayed in this house. It was 60s. It was like everybody chipped in. It was hippie stuff. You know, we ate brown rice and vegetables and this kind of stuff. It was like, Meredith Monk is coming. I didn't know who Meredith Monk was. She came with a couple of people in her troupe, and we were all hanging around one night. She said, well, let's put this thing together for Saturday night. And it was an amazing dance piece we did.
I got to say, you move very well. He moves very well on the stage.
He does,
Yeah, he
doesn't
does.
Really great,
beautifully.
gracefully.
Thank you very much. 50 years of ballet.
Why did you go to New York in the first place?
My sister sent me here to become a makeup artist. I didn't have any designs on the theater at all. In fact, the only play I'd ever seen was
Mr. Roberts.
Mr. Roberts in a tent in New Jersey. My father got tickets or something. Anyway, bottom line is I came in to do something else totally. And the only way I could do it was to enroll in the American Academy of Dramatic Arts, because the woman who was teaching the makeup course worked there. So, and then I got hooked. You have a good teacher, you start understanding what it's all about. Read my first play when I was like 20, 18, 19, 20 years old. You know, same kind of thing, you know, where you didn't.
Yeah.
Blue collar.
But I'm very, very, very interested in movies. Very, very, every week the movie changed in Asbury. I lived in Asbury Park. And, you know, we had 5 movie theaters in a mile-square town. It's a really amazing place. So you would get to see, like, for instance, I would see the adult movies were at the Lyric. They were all condemned by the church. I'm a Catholic. I was raised with nuns and the whole thing. And you know, you would go to that movie first. I mean, I loved Jerry Lewis. I loved all the, you know, Edward G. Robinson. I loved all the first run movies that were coming through the big theaters. But the first thing I would go to see is I Am a Camera, you know, or something like that. You know what I mean? Yeah. You know, or M, you know, like, you know, something, you know, slang.
But you ended up mostly in the movie business. I mean,
Yeah,
most
mostly
of your
in
time.
movie
But so what has lured you back to Broadway? Was it this project
Good
specifically?
material, really good.
Yeah.
I mean, I work with a lot of good writers, and Taxi was always great, and Always Sunny is wiggy and crazy.
Oh, I love that.
Guys are like really fun. I've always had the good fortune of that. But to really get to work on something like the first one was the Sunshine Boys. That's Neil Simon, and I was in London for.
You get to spit in that, don't you?
I get to spit in almost everything I do. Okay, so the idea.
But you don't always get to spit at Mark Ruffalo.
No, I get to spit.
That's the reason he did the play.
So like the idea is basically material. If you get something that's like that, or now you know Arthur Miller is blessed to be in this play, so and he called me about it.
Why'd you think of him?
Danny?
Yeah.
Why wouldn't I? I mean, he's one of my favorite actors to begin with, and I always saw, I just saw him in the role, and it took me a long time to convince him. It really took me a long time.
I know.
We met And then he'd say, let's meet up again in a week or two. And I'd be, oh, come on.
Say yes, please.
But it really was, 4 or 5 times and 25 phone calls.
You really made him court you, didn't
Yeah,
you?
but it was worth it because he made me think about the play in a deep way.
I kept trying to
before
figure
we ever
out,
had a
out
relationship.
if I fit, in the whole
That's amazing.
scheme of things. And after a few meetings with Terry and a dozen phone calls and emails and stuff, yeah.
And you, did you
started
leap at the chance, Mark, or did you have to be courted as well?
We had a very limited courting period. It was much more of a modern relationship. We sort of slept together and then got to know each other afterwards.
It was
like 3 days.
blessed day. I mean, it
Yeah.
just happened suddenly that Mark was available, and
It was amazing.
we talked for a few minutes on the phone when he said he would do it. But he had to go. You said, I've got to go to a doctor so you can tell everybody. And I didn't. I sat down at the table trying to figure out if I actually
Well, I had till
experienced.
12 noon on that day.
He had till 12 noon, and he called me at 11:57
Yes.
from a subway.
And I was like, Terry, I decided I'm gonna do this. You can tell everyone so they don't pull the offer.
Well, he came in and he Hail Married us.
We were ready to.
We were ready to
We were
not.
not going to be able to
Yeah,
do
it was
that.
a great thing.
Because it was already
It was a
cast
great
and then
thing.
someone went
It's
out.
great.
Right?
Yes.
Oh, I forgot.
yes.
That's right. Somebody
But
dropped out.
the
yeah.
funny thing is that, I mean, in truth, a year before that, I had asked Mark to do it,
Yeah.
and
I couldn't.
he couldn't do it. So it was really nice.
But I knew Terry too, and I know his work, and I've always been a fan of his. So it wasn't hard for me. I mean, Arthur Miller, Terry, Danny DeVito,
Yeah, I mean,
Jessica Hecht, and Tony.
Pretty good
Schiavone.
reasons
So-
to do the play, I gotta say.
But the funny thing was, I was with a friend of mine, and she said, "What would?" And I got the call that the movie was getting pushed for 4 months. I was actually preparing for the movie with my friend. She's a coach, and Greta Seacat, and she said, "Well, what would you like to do now?" I was like, honestly, because there was a movie that I've been trying to direct that I could have shot in this period of time. I was like, she's like, do you want to do the movie? I was like, no, it's too rushed. I was like, honestly, all I want to do right now is be on a play being a play on a stage in New York with great actors, great writing, and people I love, where it's not on my shoulders, where it's a true ensemble, and it's just a play. It's not a high concept piece. It's just actors doing what they do on a stage. And at 10 o'clock the next morning, I got my agent called and said, "Listen, they're doing The Price. We don't think you should do it. It's a revival. You're not the lead.
All the crap you get from the
It's an
agents.
So you
ensemble." I was like,
Give it to me.
"Sign me up."
That's it.
One
We got- wait.
last quick question. Do you think that the price is more relevant to our current time?
It's very salient now. I mean, obviously, I think it always was because, Miller just has real situations. And so we get to read our own, lives and catharses onto it. But 1968, this was a time that matches this almost
So true.
perfectly.
Yeah.
Yeah. Susan asked the serious questions, but I like to
Yes,
ask
you
fun,
ask the
fun
fun
questions.
ones, yes.
Richard Griffiths was a great friend of ours on this
yeah.
show. He was on a number of times, and I know you got to be very friendly with him.
We became
Sunshine Boys and
really friendly. Yeah.
And I get a sense when hanging out with you backstage, it's fun there because you are continuing the tradition of the Richard Griffiths memorial drink that everybody, tell us what that concoction is.
The thing is, it's gin. So Richard, every night when we finished the play,
At least you're finished yet.
we got through the play. Yes, we got through the play. Every night I go visit him in his dressing room. People would come visit. He had the dressing room was closest to, most convenient. Anyway, it was also the most stocked. He had bottles of gin, limes, big bags of limes, and a juicer, which I have the memorial juicer in my rest of the soul. I loved him so much. We had such a great time. We worked, one little quick story, we worked in the Savoy Theater. And the Savoy Theater is built on the embankment, they call it. It's 70 steps from the stage door to the stage. And that's where all the dressing rooms are, down by the stage. So 8 times a week, if you wanted to go out after the matinee, you'd walk up and down 70 steps. So Richard and I used to do it. It was a comedy routine. Backwards, go down backwards. The two of us going down backwards, taking turns, and you know,
Because of your
many,
knees?
many fart jokes. You know what I'm saying? Just like, who's going first? I'm going. How you feel? What'd you eat for dinner? You know, this kind of thing. I'll go first. Okay. But every night it was gin and lime and a lot of ice. Shake it up, and pour it in
Wait a
martini
minute.
glass.
You
It's
did
a gin margarita.
You did 8 performances a week?
8 a week.
Well, my hat's off to you.
Oh, you didn't drink after every one. I mean, well, yeah, not the matinees. Not the matinees.
Have you had this? Have you had this?
No, they've come in for little schnapses and stuff like, you know, a scotch or this. This one here doesn't drink. He's eating tofu all the time. It's like, you know, the thing is that, you know, I've got to really, now that we're open and everything is cool, we're going along, I'll get him pasted on this Richard Griffiths drink.
I have a feeling your dressing room would be like Robert Preston's was. It
There
was
you
the
go.
bar that everybody on
Oh,
Broadway
it's the
used-
best dress. He's got
to
it
hang out.
so styled in, man. It is amazing.
Whereas when I want to speak to Mark, I have to climb Mount Vesuvius to get to him. He's at the top.
That's the only exercise I'm getting now.
All right, guys. Fine revival of The Price at the American Airlines Theater, directed by Terry Kinney, starring Mark Ruffalo and Danny DeVito. Thanks a lot for being our guest here on.
It was great being here. Thanks.
Thank you.
What is the key word today? Disposable. The more you can throw it away, the more it's beautiful. The car, the furniture, the wife, the children, everything's got to be disposable. Because you see, the main thing today is shopping. Years ago, a man was unhappy, didn't know what to do with himself. He'd go to church, start a revolution, something. Today, you're unhappy, you can't figure it out. What's the salvation? Go shopping.
Our thanks to the Friends of Theater Talk for their significant contribution to this production. Theater Talk is made possible in part by the Frederick Lowe Foundation, the Corey and Bob Dinelli Charitable Fund, the Noel Coward Foundation, Carrie J. Fries, the Dorothy Strelson Foundation, and the New York City Department of Cultural Affairs.
We welcome your questions or comments for Theater Talk. Thank you